Hiya crafters, Amy here with amyswares, and today I have some mid-month inspiration to share with you. This fabulous new Message Bird 6x9 stencil is the mid-month release for February at A Colorful Life Designs. So what that means is that stencil, making this awesome card here, is available for the first week on sale. Plus, you can use my coupon AmyFan10 on top of it and save even more. So if you've got to have this stencil, which I wouldn't blame you, be sure to catch it in the first week and you'll save some cash. So as you saw on this card, I did some simple ink blending, but I did add some kind of hand-drawn details and some embossing features. So stay tuned. I'll show you quickly how I pulled all these pieces together to form that card. So I just did some residual ink blending with my brown blending brush to create that stem. And I'm just going to use blue and kind of orange to create this cute little bird on top of the branch. So I'm kind of okay with it being oranges and browns and blues because I want it kind of muddied up a little bit. I don't want it to be a super bright bird. I want it to be a little bit more natural in color. So I'm kind of blending these colors together just to kind of tone them down. And then I'm going to move on to the next component on the stencil. Now I do want to take advantage of this adorable little speech bubble. So I'm just kind of masking off portions that I don't want. And again, just using residual ink on my Rabbit Hole Designs blending brushes because I don't want it to be super bright and in your face. I want it to be a little bit more subtle. And these hearts, as you can see, line up perfectly in this space. So I'm just going to do some very light ink blending with some pink just to add these little hearts in the background, just very subtle in the design. So I'm taking advantage of all the little components of this stencil today. I'm just doing some sand eraser because I got some mess on the bottom of the panel. Now this is another stencil, Shadowed Hugs and Hello. This is part of the February release at A Colorful Life Designs. It's actually a 2-layer stencil. So you'll get this word layer with the actual sentiments, and then you'll get little rectangle openings that fit perfectly over all of these sentiments, and you can create kind of your own little label sentiments. So I opted to use the Hello Lovely on the little speech bubble, and then I'm grabbing an oldie but a goodie. This is actually my very first stencil that I ever bought from A Colorful Life Designs. This is the famous Cloud Edger stencil. This is one of my absolute favorites. I'm just laying down some blue just to create a little bit of a scene and put some clouds all around the background on this composition. So I'm just flipping it all over, making a mess, getting smudge marks where I don't want it. Again, I'm going to have to come in with that sand eraser and try and clean up my mess, but you get the idea. It's a really fun stencil, and I absolutely love it for adding just a little bit of a subtle scene into the back of my design. So once I'm done trying to clean up my mess, I'll do a little bit more ink blending with the Cloud Edger and then move on to the next step. So just bear with me here while I do this ink blending, and then I decide to go, actually I'm adding a little bit more. I think I decided to add a little bit of teal, maybe, just to add a little bit of, oh no, I started with the teal blending brush, and then I decided to come in with the blue just to kind of tie it in more with the bird and tone it down a little bit. So here I'm coming in, these are fine liners from Arteza. I wanted to draw some of the details. This is obviously an optional step. It's super cute without, you could just use it as a silhouette, go, dark ink blending over maybe a subtle background or something like that, make it silhouette, but I wanted to add a little bit more detail. So I'm coming in with green and filling in the leaves, and I'm going to come in with a darker brown and kind of draw some details on the branch itself. And then I'm going to come in and kind of draw in a wing and draw in some of the other details on the bird. So I'm going to use, I think I used the orange, or maybe I used brown for the feet and the beak. Yeah, I just decided to use brown, draw in a little eye, draw in a wing, and some little, texture in terms of feathers and on the little belly of the bird. So again, completely optional if you're not comfortable with the step. It's not necessary. The stencil is super cute on its own. This is just something that I opted to do. Now I'm using a white gel pen to fill in the little E's and O's on the sentiment, just to kind of make it look more like it's stamped rather than stenciled. And then I'm also outlining again with the fine liner on this green marker just to kind of give it a little bit more interest. Again, completely optional. I was kind of just having fun playing, to be honest. It's nothing that's needed for the design. I just kind of had these things out and I wanted to play with them, and I very seldom hull out these fine liners. So if you have pens like this, or maybe gel pens, that's a fun way to add some little extra elements. Coming in again with the white, adding some little highlights and little texture bits on the belly of the bird and on the leaves, again, just to kind of add a little something extra. So here, I was terrified that I messed up the card. I decided to cut off some of the extra white space, and I was like, oh no, what have I done? What have I done? So I cut off those edges of my paper trimmer, and then I decided to remedy this and add to the design by doing some ink blending again with the browns and blues on another panel. I'm going to emboss it with this cool 3D embossing folder from Altenew, and then I'm going to just snip off those edges on the same size as the actual panel. Now you can see it actually shrunk my panel by embossing it, and that wasn't going to work to just use it as a plain layer on top of my card base. So I had to kind of think on my feet and figure out how I was going to fix it. So I'm using a pencil to figure out how much I needed to cut off so that I could kind of scoot it down and have it cover the entire card base. I hope that makes sense. Basically, I shrunk the panel by embossing it. It was no longer big enough to cover my entire card base, so I had to just cut the ends off in line with my panel and just kind of piece it all together and make it work. So again, I was kind of just creating as I went, figuring out how to pull it all together, but I'm pleased with how it turned out. So I have this crystal metallic, trying to see if I pull it up close enough to see what color I used. Crystal Metallic Ice Queen. I felt like that went really well with the color of the bird. I'm just putting a couple down to start to make sure that it looks right with the design. Sometimes when it's in the bag, it looks a little bit different than on the actual panel, but I liked how it turned out, so I put them down in sets of 3, and that's going to finish the card. So be sure to check out this mid-month inspiration and the rest of the February release. There's loads of fun designs this month. So thank you so much for spending time with me, and I'll catch you next time.